Hi guys, Jasmo here, and today I'm gonna give you a bit of a guide and a build overview for the Toxic Rain champion I've been playing. This has been my league starter and I've been very happy with it. A lot of people also said that they've been very happy with this league start, so I'm gonna basically share it and give you everything you need to know to make this version of TR work. This is a version specifically made mostly for map clear, not very good for bossing, but there are very small adjustments that you can make in order to make this a good boss as well. This is made in order to farm like T16 juiced beyond maps, or for example simulacrums up to like wave 22. I've been farming very easily without dying. Wave 20 causes, it was just melted. So I'm gonna basically go over the build overview, the skills, the items, passes and jewels, and then I'm gonna give you like an upgrade path showing you how you can min-max this build to do even more damage. So basically this build is first of all tanky, and secondly has very good clear speed. Those are the main features of it. It's a very tanky build. You can just sit in 200 stacks of Scourge in a juiced map with beyond bosses pounding on you, and you're gonna be surviving that no problem, and rarely you have to press a life flask. Usually I have to press a life flask when I get like a puncture bleed or ignite on me, because those are two things I don't have immunity to, but everything else we are pretty safe against. The build does all content in the game, all map mods in the game. I never reroll any map mods. Even you can do like very rippy mods on this character and still be pretty safe. So it's a very comfy character to play. And also we are playing with Soul Thirst, so this is a version of the build that focuses on Soul Thirst, and because of that we are sacrificing basically half of our damage in order to get 10 times more damage in specific situations, which will be the situations where we are putting ourselves in. So if you want a boss, you would focus on a generic Toxic Rain build. You wouldn't do the Soul Thirst, and with my kind of investment you would have like 6 million boss damage, like 6 million DPS. I currently have about 3 million DPS for bosses. However, if I'm able to get stacks, which is like in maps or in maps before conquerors, so even for conquerors, in simulacrums, for bosses where I can stack the Soul Thirst buff, for those it goes up to like 30 million DPS. So it's much more for lower investment, but you have to keep in mind that you have to be able to stack the Soul Thirst. So in terms of the skills that we're using, we have two setups. Main setup is the Toxic Rain setup. Of course, we are using Toxic Rain level 21. Then we've got Awakened Void Manipulation. You really want to get Awakened Void Manipulation as soon as you can, because just getting it to level 2, if you're using it in the +3 bow, will give you the +1 to level of supported Chaos skill gems. So that is really important. But before that, you just run normal Void Manipulation, we run Efficacy, we run Vicious Projectiles, and also Mirage Archer. And then before you get the Empower, you can run Faster Attacks, for example. But Empower is going to be what you want to run in the end, and ideally Empower level 4. So that's the main setup for the gems. The secondary setup is the Ballista setup, where we have Toxic Rain with the Withering Touch, which is gonna help us apply Wither, and then we've got Efficacy for extra duration of the Toxic Rains and the Wither debuff. Then we've got Ballista Totem support, and most importantly the Focused Ballista support. The Focused Ballista makes it so that the Ballista attacks scale with our own attack speed, which is going to be absolutely insane, and together with that we're gonna be attacking at like enormous rate and stacking Wither stacks in like in less than a second. So that's it when it comes to the damage setups here. We're also running auras, which are mainly Malevolence, Determination, and Grace. Those are 3 big auras, 1 damage aura and 2 defensive auras. They give us a lot of armor and a lot of evasion, and together with Enlighten and other things on the character that I'm gonna show in a moment, we're able to fit them all together, on top of also running Clarity and Vitality. So running Clarity, Vitality, and those 3 big auras. We're also running Blood Rage. We're also running Withering Step for extra withers while we're running to just increase our clear speed, get the elusive buff, get extra movement speed, and then we're running cast when damage taken set up with a Molten Shell. We actually have Val Molten Shell there for manual use, which is gonna give us like about 10k shield, and Defiance Banner, which is free reservation for champion, and that increases our armor and evasion rating even further, and Flame Dash just for some extra mobility for traversing like different gaps and bridges and so on. So those are the skill gems. So let's talk about the auras. How do we fit all of the auras? Because that's going to be a question that a lot of people are going to be asking. So first of all, before you get the Enlighten, you can use these nodes here, like get to this with the reservation efficiency. But we are using this cluster. We're using the Charisma. With Charisma, we are also picking the Reservation Mastery of 15% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. We are also picking somewhere here, Vitality has 100% increased mana reservation efficiency, so that Vitality can cost less. And here we are picking also Grace, has 25% increased mana reservation efficiency. And together with the craft on the helmet, which is coming from an essence, increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, that is enough to fit all of the auras. Of course, you might want to de-level Vitality if you don't have enough mana. I have enough mana to run max level Vitality and running level 1 Clarity. So that's basically how we are fitting all of these. And as you can see, I don't have much mana left, but that is okay because we are also reducing the mana cost of Toxic Rain. Currently it costs 2 mana. I can get it to 0 mana with some extra magic, but the main way we're doing that is through 3 crafts. So we have a craft on an Amulet on both of the rings, and that is -8 to total mana cost. You achieve this by crafting the -7 from the bench and then using life and mana modifiers catalyst up to 15%, and that is going to give you the 8 to total mana cost. We are further reducing the mana cost with Conqueror's Efficiency, which is here Replica Conqueror's Efficiency, that is giving me another -9 to total mana cost. And then we are reducing it further with a Watcher's Eye that has -2 total mana cost while affected by Clarity, and that's what the level 1 Clarity is for. So together with that we have only 2 mana cost, and in order to further sustain that when we have like absolutely insane attack speed, we're running life and mana on hit. Life and mana on hit is very, very important because you are going to be attacking at such a stupid rate that this is gonna heal you and give you a lot of mana back. The +2 mana doesn't really matter until you get like super crazy attack speed, but the +2 life is really, really nice because you have a lot of projectiles flying, and every single time something hits, you're gonna get life back. And we also have extra life gained on hit on the Quiver. It's very, very nice to get a bunch of sources of extra life on hit. That's going to be your main source of recovery, and it's going to make it so that you don't have to rely on a life flask, which is ideal because you don't want to press your life flask too much with the Soul Thirst setup. So that's how we're going around mana. Now let's talk about the rest of the items. In terms of the items that we're using, the main damage, the main multiplier of damage comes from like the bow. I have a video on my channel for how to craft this bow. It's going to be linked in the description. It's a very simple craft. It costs about like 10 to 12x, something like that. So make sure you have like 12x, you can craft this bow and it's gonna be like one of your main upgrades. Before you have that bow, you can use, for example, a +2 to socketed bow skill, like bow gems, and like chaos damage over time multiplier crafted from the bench on something like a porcupine bow, right? The porcupine 6 link, or you can just use Quill Rain, right? This is gonna be also in like the mid-range POB that I have in one of my previous videos. So I have like a video for leveling this character and like a mid-range version of it. So I will link that in the description as well if you're interested in how to level this character. The next item that we're using is the Queen of the Forest. Ideally you want to get like as good rolls as you can, and this is going to give you a lot of movement speed, a lot of evasion. Both of those are very, very important stats for you. The movement speed really helps a lot. I definitely recommend using Queen of the Forest. because the movement speed is just so much to get, you know, you're getting like 50% movement speed just from the chest piece. Is very, very nice. So the bow is self-crafted by me. You can self-craft it as well or buy it. This is a unique item. And then we've got a helmet, which ideally you can self-craft as well by using an essence. So you want to pick up a base that has like determination or malevolence or grace, increased mana reservation efficiency. And then you want to pick up an essence. I think it's these ones, loathing, right? If you pick up an essence of loathing, you're gonna spam them on the helmet, and they guarantee increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, and you basically spam them until you get just some life and resistances, right? And ideally, if you can get like, I got like 3 good stats because I also got intelligence, and then I also got like increased armor and evasion, and empty prefix, on which I put the +1 to level of socketed AoE gems, which allows me to boost my the levels of my auras even further, which is very nice. It gives me more damage, more defense by doing that, and the extra AoE together with the AoE from the Toxic Rain, if you have quality on it, together with the AoE from Bow Mastery, is going to allow you to get like maximum overlaps. In order to get the most overlaps, you want to get 39% increased AoE. You want to get exactly that. If you get exactly 39% increased AoE, that's going to be the best for your single target damage. So 20 comes from here, 10 from quality, and then a 9 from this craft. You can just like reroll this craft and get 9 here. So that's when it comes to the helmet. It has intelligence, which you're gonna need to put somewhere on your gear. You're gonna have to have some intelligence and some strength on your jewelry or on your gloves or on your helmet. You're gonna have to find a way to fit some extra stats, because you're gonna need extra strength and extra intelligence on this character. Then we move on to the Quiver. Quiver is just very simple chaos damage over time multiplier. Ideally, you want to craft it on a shark tooth arrow quiver, because you want the life gained on hit. It's very, very good. And then you basically want to get some resistances and life. Ideally, of course, you'd have like attack speed, double damage over time multiplier, and so on. But you can craft this very easily with like Aberranth, or like Aberranth, Pristine, and maybe Sanctified fossils. You would get a good one eventually, but it's pretty hard to hit like double damage over time multiplier. But at least if you get like the chaos damage over time multiplier T1 plus some good life and resistances, that is gonna be very good for now. For the boots, we are running at series step still. This is like still a budget version. You can get better boots than this. You can go really crazy with them, and the enchant that you want is like attack speed if you killed recently, or regen, things like that. The regen is very, very nice for me. I really like this enchant here. Not much else to talk about it. They give us a lot of spell suppression, which is very, very nice, but you can also have spell suppression on a rare pair of boots, which could give you extra resistances and be better than this. For the gloves, ideally, you want to get something that has an empty suffix, because you want to craft a suffix reduced effect of chill and shock on you, because we are taking care of our chill and shock by using pantheons, and our pantheons of choice are the Brine King and the Garuthkan, right? So this is going to give you 60% reduced effect of shock, and this is going to give you up to 40, so that would take care of 100% effect of shock, and this is going to give you 50% reduced effect of chill, and this 40, so that's only like 10% effect of shock, and you also cannot be frozen. So those are the pantheons that you want to go for, and then that way chill, freeze, and shock are taken care of very easily. And then of course life and resistances, and ideally you want evasion on every single of these pieces. The best bases are gonna be like armor and evasion, pieces that have like more armor but also some evasion on it, so that you can have the plus 10% chance to suppress spell damage from this mastery here. So that's very, very important as well to pay attention to, because together with the masteries we are actually at 100% chance to suppress spell damage, and 53% of the spell damage is suppressed. So the character is very, very tanky, as you can see. We got tons of armor, like without stacking Defiance banner or anything, we got over 20k armor, almost 50k evasion, and I'm running Basalt Flask, so that is like 30k armor with that, like 30k armor, 50k evasion while running maps. Is very, very powerful, and a really, really nice combo that makes you super tanky. Other than that, we've got the amulet and the rings. So the amulet is probably the more expensive item that I have here. I would recommend crafting your amulet, and I can tell you exactly how to do it. So basically you want to get an agate amulet, which is a hunter base of at least item level 84. And then you want to make sure that you are rolling on it fossils with pristine, aberrant, and sanctified. Pristine, aberrant, and sanctified, or sacred. The one that gives you extra chance for higher modifiers, right? Higher tier modifiers. I used them and I rolled the +1 to the chaos skill gems and T1 life on it, and then I had nothing else. I annulled everything else. Gave me a prefix, which I want the non-channeling skills have -2 total mana cost because it's very important. So those are the prefixes that I want. Once I have empty prefix, T1 life or as high life as you want, and the +1 to chaos skill gems, basically what you do is you lock the rest of the things, right? So you do multi-craft, then you do prefixes cannot be changed, and then you fill in the prefix with any random craft because it cannot be empty, and then you craft it with rerolls, right? So reforge normal or magical rare item with random modifiers, including a chaos modifier. This is pretty likely to give you chaos damage over time multiplier. You can also get chaos res. If you get both, that's actually pretty nice. And then if you could get like strength or int on it, or even like an empty suffix to craft a resistance on, that would be ideal. That kind of a reroll, like the prefixes cannot be changed, and multicraft will cost you 4x each try, but you can always salvage that. Like if you fill in 3 suffixes and you have no way of like safely removing them, you can do like reroll suffixes, keep prefixes, harvest craft, and make sure that you get space there, and then do it like prefixes cannot be changed. Scour that if you have only 1 space, and then you can get back to the stage where you have like T1 life, +1 to chaos skill gems, and empty prefix, and you can just keep trying, and you can get as good of an amulet as you want to invest into. And then you allocate druidic rite because we want to have maximum flask duration, but I'll talk about that in a second. And of course, life and mana modifiers works very well because we have T1 life and the non-channeling skills minus mana cost together is a very nice effect. For the rings, you want to make sure that you're gonna get a curse and hit ring with despair, with some life and empty prefix. The empty prefix on all jewelry is mandatory for the -2 to the total mana cost. Before you have the -2 mana cost, you are relying on a flask, but that is before you do Soul Thirst. Like once you go Soul Thirst, like you want to make sure that you have the reduced mana cost, because you're gonna get insane attack speed, and it will be a shame if you can't benefit from it because you're gated by your mana. So before that, you just rely on mana flasks such as this. So you have Enduring Eternal Mana Flask, for example, of Sealing. I have like another one here. I had like another one with like this, like also grants immunity to chill. And this is something that you can get started with. For bosses, you can even equip 2 of them, and that's gonna get you sorted in the beginning for your mana, but later you want the reduced mana cost. And then I got another ring which just has like, you want to make sure that you get resistances and some strength. Strength is going to be something that's going to be missing on your gear, so that's what you want to fill in on that ring, because it's not very pressured for any other modifiers, so you want to make sure that you fit that in here. That's it when it comes to this gear. And of course the belt, right? The belt, which is what the whole build is based around. This belt is absolutely insane. If you check my previous videos, I made a video about it. It's something like a 1C budget headhunter, because really the power of this item is absolutely insane. I've been making some meme builds with this belt, like absolutely crazy cast speed and attack speed can be achieved with this, and it is extremely good for map clearing. It is extremely good for things like Delirium. I've done like wave 20 Kosses, and I melted him in like 4 seconds with this character. With like, this is like mid-range investments, doesn't have any great items, just like regular, you know, just regular shit. 5-link chest. We had still like mediocre quiver, decent amulet, a decent bow, but still like bad rolls on it. And there can be so much improvement to this, especially with the passives, with the clusters. So let's talk about those now. So for the passive skill tree, it's gonna be in the description with the POE. The important things different than than I had in my leveling mid-range POB are the pathing down here. This is all dictated by the fact that we are using Soul Thirst and not focusing on bossing. If you want to have better single target damage and less clear, it's gonna be probably better for a lot of people. It's like just easier for you to kill Conquerors and Sires. You skip this part. You go here, you pick up cluster jewels, and you pick up medium cluster jewels that not have like these flask nodes. Instead, you pick up like projectile damage, right? Increased projectile damage or chaos damage over time, whatever is going to give you most damage, and that's going to be just the most damage you can scale, right? Like that's your biggest damage source. Ideally, you'd have like 2 setups like that. But this build focuses on the clear speed. So from the passive skill tree, everything here is very standard, but this pathing here for the graceful assault, we're picking up here like extra 5% evasion as armor, because armor is very valuable. It's very nice to have a lot of armor, and we're picking up the flask nodes here, flask duration and flask cluster jewels. So that's what I'm gonna cover now. So what the fuck are we doing with this belt, and how are we making it so that my flask, when I press it, has duration of 52 seconds? What is this, right? So we're scaling our flask duration through, of course, having the right flasks. So you want to make sure that you pick up a flask that is a base duration of 8 seconds. I explained this all in the Soul Thirst video, but I'll explain it briefly here as well. So base duration of 8 seconds flask. You want to make sure that is item level 84 at least item level 84. That will allow you to roll T1 increased duration, which is going up to 40%. Up to 40% increased duration, and then whatever good suffix you can get on it. Very nice to get reduced effect of curses on you. Very nice to get a chance to avoid being ignited. Those are very good. Attack speed, movement speed, all of those are very good as well. And then we want to make sure that we get it to 28% quality with Hillock T4 in research. Other than that, you want to make sure that you use enkindling orbs, right? There are enkindling orbs, yes, enkindling orbs, and you want to make sure that you get this to at least like 98%, as close as you can to 100% increased duration. It's gonna cost you a few rerolls, but it is definitely worth it, because as you can see, the base duration of this flask now is over 21 seconds, which is absolutely insane. And then we're gonna have a lot of increased effect duration. So on the medium clusters, we've got this. Ideally, you would get also 35% increased effect. That would give you 8% increased flask effect duration per small passive. And then you also can get Distilled Perfection, which is 10% increased flask effect duration. So that's what you want to get. You can also get the Special Reserve passive, which is very good because the 2% regen is very, very handy. It's really nice to get a lot of recovery on this character, because every point of life that you recover is super valuable because of how tanky you are and how much mitigation and avoidance you have. Like, it's really, really nice to have good recovery, and that is kind of like the weakness like by default of this character until you get some like life on hit and good regen. Once you get some life on hit and good regen, this character is unkillable, and it's like absolutely stupidly tanky. Then we're also getting where else do we got? There's a jewel here that we got. Survival Instincts, yes. Survival Instincts gives you 50% increased flask effect duration. It is absolutely massive, and you definitely want to use it if you're playing with this belt, with the Soul Thirst. And then we're also picking up here increased flask effect duration nodes, which gives us here 20%. This is 45% increased flask effect duration from these, and we are also anointing Druidic Rite. There are also small nodes here. If you traveled through here, you could pick them up, but it's pretty inefficient to path this way, considering that we gotta pick up the Cluster Jewel and these nodes and the Onslaught nodes. So I prefer pathing through here and then simply anointing the Druidic Rite. And that together is giving us absolutely insane flask effect duration, as you saw yourself. Like, I pressed my Basalt Flask, over 50 seconds duration. With better cluster jewels, with like picking up all of these passives, you can get it to over 1 minute. You can have over 1 minute. If you also play the build that wants to use like Solstice Vigil, you can extend that further. You can have like 1.5 minute duration of this. It is absolutely insane. And that's what gives me the insane attack speed. For the Soul Thirst, I think there is actually a good reason to double corrupt these, ideally, because the double corruptions on this can give you some insane shit. You can get like you can get, I think, effect of determination, grace, malevolence. You can get armor, like also enchanting them. Enchanting them, you can get an enchant that gives you enemies hindered by you take 8% increased chaos damage, and you're gonna be hindering enemies with withering step. So this is also super good, like enchant, double corrupt, and then scourge, right? Do not scourge these belts, especially if you have like a perfect one like this. Do not scourge these belts before enchanting and double corrupting, because that's how you're gonna get like maximum value. Like enchant that for like the wither or something good, double corrupt them, and then scourge, and this can become absolutely insane as well. So we went over the skills, gems, passives, and jewels. So let me tell you about the upgrade path. Like, what would I upgrade if I wanted to invest more into this character? Obviously the cluster jewels, you can get better cluster jewels here. You can also take away this section, put another cluster jewel here, the large setup, and then put either more flask nodes or projectile medium clusters, which is gonna give you the most damage you can possibly get. Other than that, like every item can be better. Like this bow can have like double chaos damage, like chaos damage over time multiplier, plus damage over time multiplier, plus attack speed. Then on this you can have like +2 if you don't need the -2 total mana cost, because you can find another way of reducing the cost. Or you don't need the life, which you could sacrifice honestly, because the character is super tanky. This is softcore. You could afford to not run the life on the prefix, even though it's a huge amount of life. But you could get +2 here, so +1 to level of all dexterity gems. That would help you as well. Empower level 4 would be another upgrade. You can also get higher tier of the hunter mod, right? The increased chaos damage over time. You could get also better chest. You get like frenzy charges on hate, for example. You can get better better items that will also have elusive on, not elusive, spell suppression, right? If you can get more spell suppression on your regular gear, that will allow you to drop some nodes. Like you will be able to drop these. You will be able to pick here instead, prevent +2% of suppressed spell damage. And that will help you a lot as well. What else? You can get better ring with curse on hate with like more life. You can get this also on better basis. Like you can get them on the, I think it's Iolite rings, right? The ones that give you also chaos damage. You can also craft them with essences for chaos damage over, like damage over time multiplier as well. And that's another upgrade that you can make. Yeah, there is just a lot of stuff you can make, but I think the biggest increase to damage would be the cluster jewel setup, right? So like another cluster jewel with projectile nodes, that's gonna be the most damage that we can deal, and then we would basically double our damage and just be absolutely insane, because right now the character is like level 22 simulacrum, and you can do it deathless, no problem, but past that it starts to become really hard depending on the mods. So this character currently cannot do that, but like it can, if you could somehow like ramp up, then you could do it, but you cannot ramp up, and that's the important part. But yeah, that's basically it. The POB will be in the description. I've been having a blast playing this character. It's very enjoyable. It's a nice starter. Like it's literally the character that I started the league with. So I definitely recommend it, and it's super fun with the Soul Thirst if you want to go that way. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.